Nigeria's inflation rate has increased to 11.28% in September from 11.23% recorded in August. And this is the second increase in 2 months after 18 months of consecutive decline.
Well, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, the rate is 0.05% higher than the previous data. On a month-on-month basis, the headline index increased by 0.84% in September, down to 0.21% from 1.05% recorded in August. Well, the composite food index rose by 13.3% in September compared to 13.2% in August. Mukhtar Mohammed, the CEO of Finance with Mukhtar, is in the studio with us to put this in proper perspective. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
We're looking at the consumer price index here, which measures the average change in prices of goods and services consumed by people for day-to-day living over time. But the interesting part is the fact that the change now is about 0.05% higher than what was recorded in August 2018. How significant is this figure?
Very significant going forward, but you need to look at the background of getting that increment. We had the flood in some of the states that are majorly involved in food consumer, especially tubers of yam and other consumables, especially in the urban area. So that also, then you not forget that we still have the crisis that has to do with the herdsmen and the farmer crisis also. All this contribute to what we have now. And it would have been worse if not that there was supplement from the southern part of Nigeria, which we know didn't have so much of flooding in these areas. Also, they didn't have this herdsmen crisis like what is obtained in the northeast, north central, which happened to be like the food basket of Nigeria. So going forward, we might not see that again if all these parameters are now stabilized, especially in October when we start having harvest from the northeast, from the north central. So it will complement what we have from the southwest. But going forward, I don't think we'll have those challenges. It just has to do with natural disasters that's happened, and also with some of man-made disasters in the sense of the herdsmen and the farmer crisis.
The World Bank has warned that Nigeria could still slide back into recession. Certainly, even all the NBS has also, allayed that fear and all of that. If that is the case, with the picture you have painted, the natural disasters with the flooding and then the herdsmen affecting farming and certainly all of those issues in the north central or in the middle belt and so on. How much of concern should this be going forward? Because Nigeria getting out of recession was still even fragiler from that time even up until now.
You need to ask yourself, what did we do to get out of recession? We didn't do anything.
They said we should spend our way out of recession. That was what the government said.
We did not do anything to get out of recession. We got into recession because the price of crude went down. We got out of recession because of the price of crude
went back up.
Recovery. So we've not done anything out of this world to get out of recession. We've not put down the structural recession. Recession is a time to galvanize your economy, reassess your economy, replan your economy, begin to look at inwardly, begin to build buffer that will make such things not to happen again. But we didn't do that. What we did was, at the beginning of the recession, we had a cry of recession, diversification. We did all we have to do. We made all the right noises. We didn't come up with the right policies. Then that came. Immediately the price of oil started going up from 30, 35, 40, 50. Then we saw the commissioners of finances in various states. We saw they going to Abuja saying, look, you have to increase our allocation. So it was back to business as usual. So when we go back to recession, we might not see that playing out yet, because good enough, the price of crude is going up. And so we are relatively stable. But then, like I always say, we take from here and then we suffer it from here. The price of crude is going up, but internally we are bleeding, because that means the price of crude, refined petroleum products is going up. And the government, only NNPC is importing. And so NNPC is going to pay high subsidy. So the money that we think we're gaining in terms of high crude price is in turn spent in the area of subsidy, which as it stands now is beclouded in a lot of secrecy. We don't know how much is I mean, being paid in subsidy, it was not allocated for. I mean, a lot of things are not. In the economy, you need to make it clear to people. Clarity is the key to economic
and even trust. Because when you're talking about commissioners of finances, sometimes they're demanding for this because they don't even trust what the government is saying. But you mentioned the issue of buffers earlier on. When the prices, the international crude price of crude oil internationally is rising, which one would see as prosperity, at that time there should be buffers. What kind of positive buffers were you referring to at that time?
See, the layman economy is, I mean, we hear news about people saying the president of this country must be vice economically. Look, we have to do the layman economy. The layman economy is it's all about savings and investment. What are we saving? What are we investing as an individual? If you eat all you have, then you end up poor. So it's a common terminology. We don't need to go into the nitty-gritty of this and that. It's just common economy, savings and investment. Now, savings for what? Savings for investment. Investment on what? Investment on things that will galvanize the economy. Not just investment on infrastructure. Infrastructure are good, but you need to invest in human capital, which is the key that sustain any economy.
So, Mukhtar, they tell us that this is the second consecutive month of inflation rise after 18 consecutive months of decline. And then I'm wondering that if the inflation rate had declined over 18 months, how come it did not reflect in the price of food in the market? Over those months, I knew that those were the months where Nigerians were agitated and were talking about, the price of food.
You see, when it comes to inflation, and when it comes to whether it's going to reflect in the average, we need to still look at, we are still an economy that is driven by importation. So when we are trying to say that inflation is going down, you need to look at inflation going down in relatively to the stability of the exchange rate, which started about 18 months ago. So what you are seeing that is bringing down those prices that are not so visible, but you need to look at it 18 months ago. How much was the bag of rice? Then coming forward, how much? It didn't drop drastically, but you could see there were marginal changes. And this has to do with stability in the exchange rate, which is the key driver, the only good thing that the CBN has been able to achieve. They stabilize the exchange rate. At that point, we're going to about 500 people. We're even projecting that we'll get to 1,000. But thank God they came up with a formula, the import exchange window, and we're able to stabilize. That is why you saw for that consecutive 18 months, if you remember, we're growing our reserve steadily, then we're stabilizing the exchange rate. So generally, because we do a lot of importation of this good, we have the raw material, but you don't just use only the raw material, which is the yam from the other ingredients, and some of these ingredients comes from abroad. You look at palm oil, you look at granola oil, you look at all those things. We are not something that they come from abroad. So the exchange rate has to play a part, and that's what happened.
Foreign reserve has dropped by $4 billion, and as it is, the CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, recently was saying in Indonesia, where they met, telling the world that we are more interested in Nigeria about the stability of the currency than in savings. You talked about saving as one of the right buffers, and we are obviously seeing the decline in our foreign reserve. So how sustainable is the issue of stabilizing the naira to the detriment of savings? And this is coming from the CBN, whom you said are doing very well.
Listen, when it comes to CBN, when CBN is doing very well, you need to look at it at where they were, where they are coming from. Okay. That's what I mean, because at the exchange rate was about 500, they were able to stabilize to about 360, which we have been maintaining. So that's where I say they've been able to do well. Remember, CBN is the monetary policy committee. They have to make sure that exchange rate is stable, and then growth has to do with the physical. That has to come down to government. Now, it's not in the place of CBN to tell government to save money. It's government, in turn, are the one to create that buffer to save their money through the CBN. So CBN have even said it in their last report. The CBN government here during the MPC meeting said that government should begin to save. Now, why are we having this? Like I said, a lot of things is shared in currency. By the time you go into detail with the CBN, you realize that the $4 billion that we are talking now would have been going for the stability in terms of for a subsidy. They won't come out to tell us because they will have no reason why our reserve was growing when the price of crude was about $50, $60. Now the price of crude is about $80, and our reserve is not growing.
We were celebrating 18 months of consecutive decline, like he was talking about earlier on. At what point are we going to be very scared of falling back into recession from where we are standing right now?
We should be scared now because we are going to an election year, which election year in Nigeria is always a year of liquidity. In the
Sorry,
system.
Mukhtar, but analysts say that this new increase is still in line with federal government's target of a single digit in the nearest future.
I don't think look, let me tell you, they would have been able to achieve the single digit if we are not going into an election year. Now we are going to an election year. There's a lot of liquidity in the system. You know, an election year in Nigeria involves every stage of government spending. The judiciary will be doing a lot of spending in terms of election tribunal. Then the local government will be involved also in spending for their parties. The state governors will not just fold their hands, they want to contribute to the success of their party. And success of party in election in Nigeria has to do with liquidity, movement of cash from one point to another. That is one. Remember, I've just told you about the increase in oil price. Then the Commissioner of Finance will be going to Abuja, quote me, by this end of this month, and expecting that their allocation should go higher.
All right, but let me ask you this. Someone was saying, you talked about liquidity now. Liquidity will be available. But when it is available in dollars, how better off is the economy for that? Because we see dollars flowing all over the place. There was a headline recently that the Naira would even be strengthened by the liquidity, dollar
unless
liquidity.
we want to dollarize our economy, which is not good. Remember, we've done that before during the Sani Abacha era, whereby state government were giving currency in dollars, and also that also aid in terms of corruption, because sometimes all these dollars don't find their ways into, because we still have to go to the other parallel market. Most of them will not go to the normal market, they will go to the parallel market, they will do a lot of exchange there, they will not come out clear pictures about how much was exchange. They might take it to invest, getting in the parallel market at 360 and said, okay, no, we got it through the banking system at 305. It gives room for a lot of corruption. So that does not work. What really works is putting up systems in place. What really works is building your institution. What really works is owning ownership of your economy.
Mukhtar, do you think that we're tackling headlong the challenges of farmer elders crisis, flooding, insecurity in the Northeast, which of course is significant to our economy?
We are not tackling it at all. You just need to look at what happened over the weekend, like you said in your news. Security in the Northeast has been deteriorating over the past 6 months. Things again, it was like it was stable at the point now it's getting bad. The henchman farmer crisis, the governor of Lagos State, the governor of Benue State was saying about 18 local governments are still under the control of the henchmen. Then the flooding came in. There's not, as it stands now, we wish ourselves.
And all of this is going to be a dent on the image of a country that will certainly hamper FDIs into the country.
Look, we've never attracted FDI. What we have attracted is portfolio investors. And portfolio investor comes when your equity market is low, goes out when you can make
But this will compound the issue even further.
The issue already. It's already compounded the issue because the exchange rate even in the parallel market keeps going up.
We have to leave you here now.
Thank you.
Mukhtar Mohammed, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Always a pleasure
CEO Finance with Mukhtar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear.